everybody. I want to take a moment to just share a little bit about my story and who I am. I've realized I haven't really done that yet on this channel. If you followed along my podcast, maybe you are familiar with who I am, but my name is Cara, and I am a registered nurse, a holistic health coach. I'm certified through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. I'm an author, and I love helping people be able to create new beliefs, new food relationships, and a new mindset to help them recover from eating disorders. And this is something that I really take seriously. I'm so passionate about helping people connect with who they are holistically so they don't neglect any area of their life. And this was something that when I went through therapy and I went through treatment, I saw dietitians, I feel like there were areas that treatment was lacking. I felt like there were things that, this is all what I realized later, I didn't realize that at the time, but I was sick with bulimia and binge eating and restrictive eating patterns like for 11 years. And yes, I did choose to have an eating disorder when I was 16 years old. I remember the exact day, the exact moment, what was happening around me. And I just remember choosing to throw out my food, and I really didn't want to gain any weight when I started my new job at a fast food restaurant. I was really scared too. I just felt like I wouldn't be accepted, I wouldn't be loved, I felt like I wouldn't be good enough, I wouldn't ever get into a relationship. I just felt like that was just not an option. And I just felt like I needed to do something to control my weight because that was just what I believed from everything my parents had told me and the world would tell me. And it was not the truth. I wish that I could have, developed a healthier relationship with my body and my mind and my food. But I walked through this journey and I was really sick. I would just binge eat. I would pick up food from various places. I would binge eat. I would eat way more food than I needed just to cope with the stress of life. I went through nursing school. Those were some of the hardest years because nursing school and college, if you guys have been a student before, and shout out to all my nurses, that is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. I always would tell nursing students when they would come through to do clinicals at the hospital that I was working at and I would precept them, I would tell them, you're gonna be so happy soon, you're gonna be graduating. And honestly, I stand by that. Anyway, so I would cope with the stress of nursing school by just purging and binging, and it was just so unhealthy for me. I think that the moment I realized I needed to get help was when my parents found out and I realized that I lied to them about being able to fix my eating disorder on my own. I told them and I lied to them. I said, I've already got it under control. You don't need to worry about me, it's fixed. And I realized within that year that I told them a lie, that it wasn't fixed and I needed to do something because I was starting to get serious about my life. I was becoming a health professional and it felt really wrong to have this secret as I was becoming a nurse. And I was gonna start to kind of be an example in healthcare and help people be healthy and help people get back to, a place where they could be on their own again. And it just felt really wrong to have that secret and not have a healthy relationship with food, not view myself in a very high way. I just really believed that I should just take what I got and I shouldn't push further. What I had was great. I had a family, I had, an income, I had a good career. I was blessed to be in many relationships that I grew so much from. But the first time we went through therapy, I actually dropped out because the bills got too high and I wasn't actually getting any better. And I was a student, I was a full-time student, I was part-time working at the hospital. I was just so stretched. It just was too much. And so I decided to drop out and I said, okay, let me just do this again when I'm graduated and I have more time and energy to focus on this and invest in myself. Plus, if you are somebody that struggles with an eating disorder, part of it is it's hard to let go of that because that's your coping tool. That's your coping mechanism to deal with the stress of life. And I didn't have any time, energy, or will to develop another coping tool. I wanted to, but I don't think that I really it was not something that I was ready to give up, I guess is the best way to put it. So after I graduated nursing school, I was about, 21, 22 years old, and it wasn't for another 4 years that I tried to go back to therapy because I was actually I was actually feeling like therapy didn't work too well for me the first time. I ended up having all these bills to pay, but then I was about to get married and I was like, I don't want to take this eating disorder forward anymore. I want to actually recover so I don't have to deal with this eating disorder while I'm being a newlywed. And so what I did was I went back to treatment and I decided that I was going to go to a different treatment program. So I went to a different one. I was living in Minnesota at the time, and I enrolled, and the treatment program was actually a little bit better and more robust. I had a psychologist, a dietitian, a therapist, and also a physician's assistant. And so I felt like I was going to be on the right track this time. But sadly, I ended up getting my medications increased for depression and anxiety. I ended up getting worse in my eating disorder, and honestly, the bills were even more than before. And I was like struggling to pay for this wedding that I was gonna have, and I just also was stressed out by the concept of being married and just like, you know, having so much life changes that I was falling back on my eating disorder. And also all the pressure around like me, like if I were to gain any weight, they told me during my wedding dress fitting that like if most brides like lose 5 pounds before the last fitting, and I was like, well, I definitely have to do that then. And I was like, you know, really like fixated on my body image and people looking at me. And you know, I'm sure that if you've been married or if you've been like, you know, preparing for an event or something where you're gonna be like in front of like 200 people, you can understand what I mean. And the wedding is like a really good example of how that can actually be something you can fixate on. And so picture that for like months at a time, and I just was not ready to I was not ready to give up the disorder. So I honestly feel like that was part of the reason why I didn't recover in therapy, but I also can acknowledge that I didn't have everything that I needed. I ended up recovering a year after I dropped out for the second time. I paid off the bills. The bills were even higher than the first time, but I ended up trying gut healing after a really big frustrating episode where my skin started to break out. A lot of people who knew me, I started to have redness along my skin and my face, and it would happen at random times. So honestly, that became super frustrating because I was struggling with the binge eating bulimia issue, and I was considering like, I went to all the specialists. I went to the dermatologist, I went to the endocrinologist, I went to the allergist, I went to the rheumatologist because I was also having pain in my joints, so I was actually worried I was having an autoimmune condition. They tested me, I came back negative for everything, and I was like, this is weird. Like, something's not right, something's not being picked up. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna find out what it is. So I ended up getting allergy shots, and I ended up, after that didn't work completely to my satisfaction, I ended up thinking about going on an elimination diet. But when you're struggling with restriction and binge eating and bulimia, the elimination diet doesn't really work because you're already in that headspace of like restricting and how difficult that is, and you're used to giving into your cravings and into binge eating episodes. So basically that's what happened over and over again. And then I prayed. I actually went on a little personal retreat, just me and God, into the wilderness, and I camped in my car, and I pretty much asked God, like, what should I do? Like, I wasn't happy with my life. I was struggling as a nurse. I was feeling really, really sad and depressed, and he showed me a business opportunity. And so I started that, and as I became engrossed in this business opportunity, I just started asking, like, what would I do if I were to recover? Like, if I was to be healthy, what would I do? And I started thinking about all the things that I didn't try yet. And one of the things that I hadn't tried yet was to heal my gut. And that was something that I had been learning about, but I never really tried because I didn't really know much about it. Like, I heard that, you know, some people that had allergies to gluten had tried it and they were really successful, but then I just didn't really see how that related to me since I didn't have a gluten or wheat allergy. I was like, okay, well, I just wasn't very well educated. So I decided to start healing my gut with probiotics and this particular gut healing system. And what happened next was nothing short of a miracle. In addition to my probiotics, I started to switch out my sugar for sweeteners that didn't impact the blood sugar but were also natural. So stevia, erythritol, allulose, monk fruit extract. I started to bake like cookies and stuff from these types of ingredients, and I was thinking like, well, if I can kind of like lower my blood sugar a little bit, because I was also pre-diabetic at the time as a result of my binge eating, maybe what I could do is I could actually see my body heal a little bit at the same time. And this is something that I know that a lot of people can relate to, and I know it's taboo, but at the same time I was hoping that I could lose some weight because I was actually pretty overweight. I was 30 pounds overweight, and I was just like still struggling with my eating disorder, and I was like, I have to figure out a way to like heal my body. Something's going on inside of it, and I just didn't know what to do. But what I learned was when your body can have a balanced blood sugar and you heal your gut, and you start to eat food regularly without binging, then what happens is your body is able to start healing itself naturally without you doing much at all. And that was something that was really freeing to me. And so what happened was once I started to heal my gut and change some of these sugars, I wasn't giving up anything. I was just changing the ingredients. And I realized within 6 weeks, I had not had any binge eating episodes or purging episodes. I hadn't even felt tempted, and I was feeling really satisfied. And when I recalled that and when I looked back on that, I felt so ecstatic. I just felt like, oh my gosh, I have to tell everybody, but I didn't really know how because there was a lot of things that I really didn't understand yet. So I'm really excited to be sharing this with you now because I feel like I have a bird's eye view after going through holistic health school and learning why exactly the blood sugar and the gut are linked and things like that. It's really just a privilege to be able to share and hope that it will reach the hearts of other people who are struggling with prediabetes and binging. Honestly, like if you want to talk, I do free one-on-one health histories. You can look at the link in the bio or the link to this video. And yeah, I haven't had a binge eating episode or a purging episode in over 4 years. And I'm so excited because, yeah, like sometimes I am tempted to cope with food when I reach stressful situations, but my lifestyle changes and the habits that I've set in place have really given me the strength and the new mindset and the new skills to deal with life and the stresses of life in a new way, a more constructive way. And that's exactly what I teach in my coaching and my book that I just launched a month ago. The link for that is also in the description too. If you're wanting to get familiar with the holistic health pillars for eating disorder recovery, it's something that I am so excited to talk about, and I'm going to be just making videos around the pillars in this channel. So comment below what you'd like to see me talk about next. I will make a video about that, and then don't forget to subscribe and like this video. See you next time.